I'm going to play a little video first, just to get you all very excited about CS6. Exciting. Let me quit that. Okay. Well, thanks all very much for coming out, and thanks for our sponsors as well, Firebrand and RMIT. So really great for you guys to organise all of these InDesign user groups, and hopefully you'll find it really valuable tonight. Me and the guys are certainly very excited to be able to share CS6 with all of you. It's kind of, we're sort of jumping the gun a little bit. We normally do a roadshow after a big announcement, a big launch like CS6, and we're certainly going to do that, and keep your eyes and ears open on adobe.com.au for the announcements of when those roadshows are going to be. They'll be this year, no final dates yet, but you know, who cares, right? You're going to see it anyway, or as much of it as we can possibly get through. So, I've got a great team of guys in our solution consulting team, and we're the application experts for all of Adobe's creative products for Australia and New Zealand. And there's 6 of us in our team, spread across Australia and New Zealand, and nearly all of us are here today. It was just so happened that I thought, who are the most important people in the world? Well, of course, it's the InDesign User Group of Melbourne. Please, everyone, come. Guys, come over. So, just over to my left, you'll see taking my photo, thank you, John, is John Adobe. That's his real name. And John Barrie is going to be showing us some of our video technologies in just a little bit. We have Richard Turner-Jones, who's actually going to be showing us a little bit of Illustrator. Richard's come down from Brisbane to join us. He flew just in a few moments ago. How are your arms?
Very tired.
Very tired. Very good. And Earl, who's not much of a flyer, swam across from Auckland this morning. So Earl is going to share with us probably something that you're all very excited about, and that's Indesign CS6. Now, running late, of course, and true to form, is Brian Chau is going to be joining us if we all keep our fingers crossed, and he's going to share a little bit of HTML5 animation. He might have to go last though. And I'm going to share a little bit of Photoshop. With you. There's the demo. I don't want to do too many slides. So with some kind of nice graphics. I have got the iPad hooked up using an application called Reflection anyway, just so I can mirror it onto my laptop, because I want to show you some stuff on the iPad in just a few minutes, if that's cool with you guys. Yep. And we will have time for questions. But I want to show you Photoshop CS6. Let me just reset my little workspace here. This is my standard file. For those of you that have seen me do some presentations before, you may have seen this one. Have you seen this file before? Who's seen me do a presentation at InDesign User Group? Move on to the next one. No. Okay. So over the years, if you've come along to InDesign User Group, you will have seen me present some Photoshop magic. Okay, things like in Photoshop CS4. Remember if we think back, scaling files like this and going from a horizontal to a vertical format where it squishes the image like that and it just looks horrible, and the only people happy about this are the fat guys in the picture. Okay? So that's not exactly. So Photoshop CS4, of course, we introduced the content-aware scale, which then protects the detail in the image and only collapses back over stuff that's of less importance. Okay? And we even have the ability over here. See there's a little man up there? Can you see him at the back? It's a really weird icon. And that's just protect the skin tones. Okay? So protect the skin tones so it doesn't get, if it's not really doing such a good job. That's old. That's old stuff. What about this though? Then we had this technology where we could fill this guy in. Okay? Using the content-aware fill. CS5 was this, wasn't it? So you press OK. It has a bit of a search about, figures out the best way to remove that guy, and then gets rid of him. So that's pretty nice. Yeah. Now, CS6. We have this new content-aware move tool. Okay? Woo! So, what we can do here, we can just do a little bit of a lasso around my dude here and move him. Let's just move him about. We'll remove him from where he was and put him in a new spot and then blend him in. Let's get excited about that. All right. Obviously, you love that so much. Photoshop is 64-bit, okay, which basically means you can take advantage of all the memory in your computer now. So if you put heaps of RAM in there, it's going to take advantage of all of that. But it also uses now some technology that the video team invented called the Mercury Playback Engine. No one knows what it is or what it means. John might, but don't ask him because he will tell you the answer and you don't want to know. What it means is it's fast. So, something that took a little bit of time to do was the liquefy thing, So if you got the biggest brush and started moving things around, it would take a while. The brush can be way bigger now. So you can see here, I can crank my brush up to 1500 pixels if I want. Okay, I think it was like 99 pixels or something was the restriction there. So that's too big to fit on this image. Okay, so I can now start swirling this about, and it is just super reactive. It will just do it. There's no waiting. I can do all of these things, and it's very, very fast. Okay, so press OK. There we go. So watch this really quickly, right? So if I duplicate this layer, perhaps I crop that one down, tick that, and then I press save, okay? Press OK, boom, I can keep working. Have a look down the bottom left. Do you see there was a little saving button down the bottom left as I was doing that? It was saving in the background. So the most annoying thing for me, and I used to work on, doing some retouching jobs and lots of different layers on there, and the biggest pain was, I better do a save now because I'm going to lose all my work. You hit save and then you would go and get a coffee, or maybe if you were smoking, you'd be killing yourself, you'd be running out for a cigarette while you're waiting for it to save. It's going to save in the background, you can keep working. Okay, as an auto recovery feature, much like our beloved InDesign as well. So that's certainly a really huge bonus for people that spend a lot of time inside of Photoshop. Okay, a couple of other real quick things. Quite a complex document here. You can see we can search for different kinds of layers in here. I know there's a text layer in here that I've got to edit, so I just want to show the text layers. Or I just want to show the adjustment layers and not the text layers. Or I just want to show the smart object layers. So very easy to then search for and find all of those different things. So that's very exciting. 3D layer here. We can extrude text now, which is new. I can squish it, change the extrusion right there on the image. So very exciting, very easy to do. Okay. Let me show you something. Oh, this is unreal. There's so many things I want to... I'm running out of time already though, aren't I? Okay, I'm going to get my skates on. Okay. So, filter. We're going to correct this. We have a new adaptive wide angle filter in here. Okay. And what this allows us to do is to be able to draw along some planes here and then get Photoshop to correct those planes back to straight. You can see as I'm drawing how that arc is curving along to match the curve that this lens has created. And then let's go along here. Shouldn't you be just going like, whoa, by now? Oh, thank you. Yeah. Applause is all right as well. Yeah. We'll just do one more because that worked really nicely. Well, for me anyway, that bang. So anyway, I love it. And with the right sort of jiggery pokery, we can do that on video layers as well. And close that. Oh, I've just got to really quickly show you this. I'm going to duplicate this layer. We've got some new blurring functionality in here. So here's a very sort of popular style of photo, I guess, what do you call it, photo styling, like the tilt shift type blurring thing. So we've got some new blur filters in here. So if I get into the blur, we've got field blur, iris blur, and a tilt shift. You know, the tilt shift is probably the most fun. I can sort of bend that to match the road, collapse back over. If I hold M, you can see it's actually creating an alpha or a mask in the background, and I can save that mask out if I want to use that for some other purpose or later on. And even right on the image here, I can then use this little twirler to change the amount of blur, change the colour of the blur or the bokeh, and then we can even sort of blow this out so we can get really sort of specular highlights coming out there, and then make this whole image look a little bit like it's in this miniature figurine style of photography. So that's kind of nice. One last thing. Two last things. Okay, I'm going to close that. Jump back over here. So I have some video here. So Photoshop handles awesomely video. So I'm going to open this little bit of video right in there, and we've got a whole new video timeline. So I can scrub through the video in here. I can even trim it up. When I trim it, I get a little preview of what's going on. And what I might actually do... Oh, there's Brian, thank goodness. Stop stalling. Add another video layer in. You see it's dropped it next to it? Have a go at this. In here... Oops. Oh, tick. Yes, thank you. Commit. I find it hard to find the commit button sometimes. Boom, boom. And so I'll do this fade, drop it over there. I can do transitions in between the clips. So I've just done a dip to black over here. You can see the transition fading to black, and it's just sort of rendering out as I scrub through, and then fading back up. So you can actually put together some pretty neat little video clips, put audio tracks in there just for doing some fun kind of stuff, and take advantage of all the colour correcting and all of the filters inside of Photoshop. If you're familiar working with Photoshop, then that's wonderful. Now, I created a layered document in Photoshop before. We have this new service, and we haven't got time to show you, called Creative Cloud, for sharing files between computers and for sharing files from Creative Suite to mobile devices. And we've got some touch applications which are available now. You can see on my iPad there, I've got Photoshop Touch running. Oh, look, there's Richard.
Thanks for that.
So here's one I prepared earlier. So I'm just going to go ahead and open this one up. You can see I've got a layered Photoshop doc with the transparency in there. Okay? And what I can do is design things on the desktop, save them to Creative Cloud, and open them up in Photoshop Touch. And I can do a whole host of other things. For example, I can, create a new empty layer there. I can reorder the layers. The little red dot that's appearing, that's just where I'm touching. I've got all sorts of adjustments in here, levels, curves and all the rest of it, so I can do some stuff while I'm out and about. Well, what if I'm designing this little spring collection cover for my magazine or whatever, and I spot some fantastic looking, young model or a house or something that I want to include on my cover? I can do that straight onto my tablet, but I can't do it unless I have a volunteer who'd like to be on the cover. There's a prize. Come on down, young man. Very good. You get this wonderful set of Acrobat 10 playing cards. There you go. Don't get too excited. I've only got one of those. Okay. So what I'm going to do here... Sorry, what is your name?
Luke.
Luke. Just come out in the front here, Luke, where I've got a bit of light. And I'm just going to click this little end button. I'm going to add a camera fill layer in. So we're using my masthead here.
I'm not very photogenic.
Yeah, you will be. That's fine. It's Photoshop. Give us a big grin. I like the... is that a hang 10 top you've got on there? Very nice. Okay. That's a keeper for sure. And then we just keep... And we can... Now we can go ahead and we can say, let's increase some saturation or whatever it is that we want to do. We can do it right there on the iPad. And even though it's a dodgy camera, it's we're getting a bit of an idea of the sorts of things that we'd like to do. We're putting some ideas together. If you've got a card reader and you're actually out on a photo sheet, boom, put the card reader in, get the photographer to give you his little SD card, just get him to shoot JPEG and RAW at the same time, grab the JPEGs, chuck them on, see if it's going to work. So it's certainly a lot of fun, and you can add text layers and all sorts of things in there. We haven't got time for that. Okay. I'm now going to hand over to someone. Who's next? Richard? Okay. So, Richard Turner-Jones is going to come up here and plug in because he's going to talk us through Illustrator CS6. Is that right?
That sounds right.
Let me give you this. And while he's plugging in, now we're going to do like questions as we go along. So, I'm happy to take some questions about Photoshop. Who's got some Photoshop questions as we go? Richard, you plug in. Any questions so far? What did we think? Was it excellent? Okay. There's plenty more. There's, I think, somewhere near. I've been told by a reliable source today that there's at least 600 different enhancements in Photoshop. There's been over 2 years since a full release of Photoshop, so they've had plenty of time to work on the thing. New cropping features, for example. So when we're cropping now, we have the ability to select a bunch of different grids, rule of thirds grid or golden spiral type grids. So as we're cropping images, it's actually embedded there in the crop tool, and it works like grease lightning. So for our photography friends, there's certainly a bunch of really terrific enhancements there as well. Mimo, you've got a question.
Mike, what's the camera raw deal with CS6?
The camera raw plugin itself is constantly being updated. So outside of the release of CS6, that we're always putting in new profiles for cameras that come out. So just recently, I was talking to you before about the Nikon one. Hasn't been out for very long, already supported in camera raw. So just as far as the functionality goes for adjusting camera raw images, though, very similar, not a bunch of new functionality, but it is separate to the main body of Photoshop, so you find that's constantly updated as it goes along. Yep. You're up and running?
Seem to be.
Okay, thank you everyone, and I'll hand you over to Richard Turner-Jones.
All right, thanks, Mike. First of all, I just want to point out that I'm the coder guy, so it makes sense I'm doing the Illustrator demo. And okay, so Illustrator CS6, a couple of new things. Obviously, the brand new interface you may notice with Photoshop, the dark interface, give you more focus on your content, take the eyes away from the the boring stuff like brushes and the like. All right, so first thing about Illustrator, we now have, I can bring up the right spelling of the word, Illustrator CS6 64-bit. So we've updated several apps to be full 64-bit support, so more memory, fast CPU. You know, if you're on Windows, you get full access to some sort of amount of RAM. I don't know what it actually tops out at, but you know, 8 gig laptop here, I'm using the entire amount. So, all right. So a couple things to start with. Some of you may have remembered from previous versions we had the trace tool. Well, we've actually looked at the trace tool, and part of the update, by the way, 25 years old, the old lady the Illustrator is, for this launch actually basically got rebuilt from the ground up. So I looked at all the interface elements and standardized. They went and looked at every panel, every menu option, every drop down, and went, it has to be conformed to certain rules. And they also went back and looked at certain tools. So in this case here, the trace tool. I'm just going to bring it up here. I've just got a simple JPEG. The reason I went Broncos is because I went to the AFL last night. And I know if I picked the wrong team, I'm in trouble, so I went for a totally different sport. All right, so just a simple JPEG image here. I'm just going to go and use the new image trace option. All right, so, oh great, it's black and white silhouette. What we get now is a lot of control over the actual image trace. So if you want to sort of see that, I think you can. All right, so we've got some presets built in. So high fidelity photo, right through to silhouette and line art. If you've got a hand-drawn plan or illustration, you get some beautiful artistic work done in pencil, it comes straight in. In this case here, the original object, let's use 6 colors, and there it is. So it's just traced for me. I'm now just going to go through and just break that apart. I've probably done 3 colors, by the way, if you do count. So, all right, so there it is. And what I want to show you now is another new feature. This one is actually really useful if you're doing some sort of pattern, maybe for a bag or a curtain, or I think one of the car manufacturers using it for a seat cover or something, I believe. So what I want to do here is actually take this image and turn it into a pattern. All right. So quite simply, I have a central image, and then obviously in the background here, a series of repeating tiles, so I can gauge sort of how it's working. So in this particular case here, I might go through and just grab this image, grab the right cursor, there we go, that's better. Yep. And bring it down a little bit. Oops, I grabbed the wrong one. Let me try it again. I had the subselection on. That would help. Okay. So I come back in here, bring this down a bit in size, maybe choose a different type of pattern, maybe a hex. I can go through and pretty much lay it out as I want. And of course, this is fully editable. If I want to go in here and actually do something a bit silly, like no longer the Broncos, but the Brisbane Unicorns, I can just go through and just modify like so. So that's the pattern tool. I'm just going to see I can find the commit button. All right, so, and all I want to do here is actually just apply this as a pattern. So how do I use that? I simply go here to the gradient tool, and there it is, drag and drop. And anytime I rearrange this particular object, I can adjust where the pattern happens to sit inside of it. All right, so next one's going to be gradients. I think gradients are really boring. So what I've got here is a straight colour. Just make sure I've got so I've got 2 screens replicating here. I'm going to watch the right one. And that's better. Cool. All right, so I'm just going to go into here, grab the spiral tool, like so, set it up to be slightly thicker, 20 sounds about right to me, and now I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop a gradient onto there. So we now have a full gradient mesh, and get the right. Did I go the wrong tool? I did too, wrong above it. There it is, that's better. So just a bit of tweaking here and there. So with this particular gradient, I can go through and adjust how it appears in terms of style. So I've just got a very basic, there it is, radial gradient, but maybe I want to actually have a style more like this. And of course, you know, being a gradient, I can do the usual tricks and change whatever colours. And of course, I'm a coder, so I'm going to pick the worst colours possible. And of course, I can't double click. and I'm not going to worry about it because I can't seem to click the right spot. Don't worry about it. Anyway, so there is my gradient. Now, why would you use this? Well, how about this illustration here? Let me just Control 0, hide that panel. So you may think, oh yeah, that's really great looking artwork there. It's a bit of picture sketch and back on a napkin. If I actually go in here and turn the gradients back on, that was all done with the gradient tool. If I roll the mouse over, you can see here, these are all gradients, gradient mesh, line, etc.
We did that this morning.
Okay. You know, I think I've actually caught up on time here, Mike, so...
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, yeah, I will just suffice to say, you've got a lot of really cool new tools, optimised old tools in here. You're going to find that the speed increase is phenomenal, especially working with large objects, the redraw time. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy Illustrator. Thank you. You might have to extend, you know, duplicate for some reason. Just give it a try and see what happens.
Any questions while we're doing a switch over to Brian? Brian made it,
If you want to use it.
which we're very pleased about.
Yeah, what? Sorry.
Does Illustrator have the same saving function as Photoshop? Where it does that for the saving?
The background save? No. As far as I know, I don't think it does. But it's super fast now, so you won't even notice it. Yeah.
Not a guarantee.
Let's just make it up as we go along. It is pretty fast. And actually, just while we're waiting for...
Did you want power or not? Okay, cool.
Sure you couldn't have a cat or something on there, right on the desktop. Just while we're waiting, I'd like to introduce someone else to you who's also here from Adobe. Fiona McFarlane, stand up and introduce yourself. So Fiona's joined us in our Melbourne office as one of our sales professionals. Aren't you, Fiona? So if anyone has any queries about their software, please feel free to make yourself known to Fiona. She's hanging around and kind enough to come and join us tonight. So thanks, Fiona. That's I can switch it over to the document cam, and then you'll be able to see it.
Right,
Is that
okay.
cool?
Document
Yeah?
cam, okay.
Yeah, if you want it when you're ready to do that bit. Yeah.
Right.
I can help you with that. When you're
Okay,
ready.
all right,
Yeah.
cool.
Okay. Right.
So, good day, everyone. What I'm going to do is to share with you on one of the best software within the Creative Suite. We all know it starts with letter F, right? So, Flash is what that is. How many of you love Flash? Well, I know a lot of you love Flash. You're just a bit shy. Don't want to secretly admire Flash, right? I want to show you why Flash is very important. Even though I understand that this is an InDesign Users Group there, right? We deal with a lot of the prints there, and we use InDesign, Photoshop, Illustrator to do all the layouts and make beautiful artworks there. But at the end of the day, animation sells. Right, so it's really important that we learn how to animate the thing, spin the logo if you at the very least, right? So I want to show you how we could do a little bit of the Flash animation. Now Flash, because it was, I guess, sometimes we attract a lot of, jealousy from many people there. So they said, oh, I don't want to do Flash because then if I do it in Flash, then I may not be able to play in iPad, for example, right? So obviously you may have heard of that as well, right? But forget it, right? So we don't need to worry about that. Not that we are forgetting iPad. We need iPad there. But what the good news is that Flash is very versatile, very innovative. The product teams did a lot of work to make sure that whatever that you've created in Flash, maybe with qualification, not whatever, but a good bit of work that you've done in Flash can actually be deployed across platforms and devices as well, right? So here it is, indeed, this is kind of like a quick diagram to show you where are Flash these days. What does Flash allow us to do these days? It allowed us to, indeed, as of the last release, CS6 5.5, we are able to use our skill in Flash. So maybe you are an animator or a Flash developer there. What you've learned over the years, we let you package it as a native application. Right. and you could run it natively on iPad or Android devices there, right? So certainly, you know what, the things that I've learned throughout the years with animation and skills turned me into an Xcode developer. Certainly turned me into Java developer. Isn't it nice, right? So, you know, I could reach out to a lot more platform and devices than otherwise I would be able to do so. That is something that we started in Flash CS 5.5. And of course, with Flash CS6, we take it to the next step as well. We actually incorporate a few more functionalities to make your application really stand out when you want to make your mark in the App Store or Marketplace, right? But we don't want to stop there, because native application means that when someone wants to run your contents, they need to go to the App Store or the Marketplace to download the application and install the applications there. So there are still people who say, what about the browser? What if I want to view the contents inside a browser? Not all sort of content want to be download and install as an applications there. With Flash CS6, we take it to the next step as well. We never forget about the web, the importance of the web. Right? And what we've done is that we've incorporated some open source technology to make it possible for us to now to turn our Flash animation as HTML5 animation. Now this is cool, isn't it great? Now for those you say, what's the big deal? HTML5, right? Just trust me that if you just talk to other people, use some of these acronyms there, you gain a lot of respect from people. Right? So just say that is important things there. Now I'll show you an example there. Right. Of course, coming to the users group, we do learn something. How do we gain the respect of others? Right? So here's a little sort of animation. These sort of animations that people might have been doing it for years, and it looks like this. So there's this chameleon walking in the desert, so obviously trying to find some water, right? So it's but keep on walking and walking and walking. Of course, it's really just looping. This chameleon will have to walk for a long distance before you find anything. Right? No, wouldn't it be great, right? In the past, what we do is that we then publish it as a web, and then we preview in our browsers, right? So that will be what the browser would look like, right? Same thing. Right, a website, web experience there. Or in this case, I'm doing it on a PC, and of course, the same content will be displayed on the Mac as well, right? OS 10, right? Or Safari, or Firefox, or Chrome, or any browsers that you care to name off, right? Now, how about the same content? How do I publish it to devices? Android, of course, we could do exactly the same thing as before, but iOS will present us with a new challenge there, right? It's because iOS, I cannot install the Flash player there. So, okay, all right, that's fine. That's not the end of the world. We innovate. We think of a solution. Right? This is what engineer is really for, right? Here is the obstacle. You make it to work, right? So the engineer comes up with this brilliant panel, right? So this brilliant panel is called the toolkit for Create.js. Kind of like geeky term, but given that they are from engineers, we accept that, right? But at the end of the day, we don't have to care about that. What we need to care about is this publish button. What it does is that it lets us publish as HTML5 canvas-based animation. Again, if you don't know what canvas is all about, doesn't matter. Just keep on repeat to yourself a few times. Canvas-based animation. What it does is that it just lets you publish. Yeah. So when you publish, you just generate as an HTML page. And that's it. Right? And of course, as an HTML page, again, I'll be able to play it here. Right? Now, before we toggle to the document cam, behind the scene, what it's doing is that it's generating JavaScript and some HTML code behind the scene, right? And that's it. And if I publish it to the iPad, right? So I may publish to the server there. Let me just turn on the document cam. So would that be one of those?
I think it's here. Ah, yes.
Yeah, so it is, right? And of course, like all cooking show, right? So we will put it into the oven. And let's give it a try, right? So I have already, who is this? So we've got internet access already, haven't we?
Oh, do you need internet access?
Richard, sorry. Sorry. This is where you're highly secretive, so we can't show you a little bit of the password. see it, right?
That should be doing.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
a
we know.
progress bar, right? So here it is. What do you think? Flash animation on the iPad, right? So these days it's no big deal, right? Forget about those conversations. I'm all over it. If you want Flash, if you want HTML5, that's fine. But here is HTML5 animation right on iPad. Now I understand, as I said before, I come here for the InDesign User Group meetings there. I think it's a bit of a disrespect if I don't show you a bit of InDesign as well, right? So let me just go back here, right? So the thing that we have done, right, of course, has been create as an HTML5 based animation, and obviously the same animation can be put into InDesign as well, right? So here we take a look at this. Obviously, it's InDesign, right? So you can see that it is InDesign, all the ID logo there, right? So I'm not kidding you, right? So there's this little box there. This little box, basically, I create a frame. I don't think I need. Do I need to tell you? Ask you what was the frame for InDesign? Maybe not, right? So that you all know what is a frame for, right? What I've got is that the frame is going to point towards this HTML5 animation. All right. So, and indeed, if I do a quick preview, this is a multi-pages document there. So I've got a few pages there. The whole notion is that I want to actually publish it into iPad as kind of like digital publishing magazines there. So I've got a few pages there. So I've got multi-columns. What you see is actually that we've got the little columns there and 2 columns, and then the same animation that's displayed inside. Now you might notice that the chameleon is looking a little bit slow now. As I said before, because it's getting a bit thirsty, right? So I think, but get that aside, right? This is just an emulation. This is what we want to test the functionalities there. Publish it to the iPad. iPad will be very happy too. All right. So I guess another reason. I mean, why do we want to pay attention to Flash? Why do we want to learn Flash? Why do we want to love Flash? Remember, you put in all these interactive contents there. It guaranteed to sell. Okay. All right. So I want to pass it on to John Barrie. John Barrie is going to show us some cool stuff too. So, okay. All right. Thanks. Yeah, if you've got questions, I think, yeah, anyone got any questions? Yes?
Can you put the animation into PDF?
Yes, with Flash, indeed, we support, with PDF, Acrobat PDF, we support interactive Flash content for back to a few versions before. The only thing to remember is that the PDF that has interactive media content can display perfectly on Mac and on PC. Right. But when it comes to the same PDF on tablets, like iPad, it's still limited to static PDF at the moment. All right. So answer is yes, provided that you want to view it on a Mac or on a PC. Good? Okay, great, thanks. I'll pass it on to you.
I think there was one other question over that side. Is that?
I was just wondering, importing the HTML5 in the Illustrator, is that for the user interactions?
No, well, thanks for asking this question. Sometimes with demos, I have shown very simple stuff, right? And what you saw, that one was a very simple animation set. The questions that we have on here is, what about those Flash action scripts? Would that interactive multimedia we're doing in Flash there, would that translate into HTML5, something like JavaScript? No, it wouldn't. So what we provide is a framework where we translate all the Flash animation into canvas-based animation, but we create all those API hooks for JavaScript. What that means is that people who want to take advantage of HTML5 JavaScript or write those interactions need to know JavaScript to do that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Brian. Well done. Well, next we've got Mr. John Barrie, who's going to talk to us about Flex Builder. No one knows what that does. Video.
Video, okay. Alright, well, after my little piece here, you'll get a bit of a demo as to what DPS is. Who has heard of DPS as an acronym? Yep, Digital Publishing Suite. Inside that, basically what you're doing for print, you can now put into your touch devices and it becomes digital. This means you can put video content inside of a magazine. So this might be pretty relevant to you if you're not already dabbling in video. Now this is After Effects CS6 that I'm playing with right now. What you're seeing here, I'll just get this to loop through, is actually an Illustrator file that then I pulled all the bits and pieces of the shapes out and then extruded and beveled and lit and animated inside of After Effects without any third-party plugins. This is hot wheels. This is really cool, because normally you would have to go out and pay for some third-party plugin, and obviously that's more money. It's pretty cool that we can do this natively without having to do anything extra. So I'm just going to go through and show you this original Illustrator file. We've got this ability to edit original in here, which is not showing up there, but it will show here. So inside Illustrator, you've already seen it's got some pretty cool stuff. If you go in and make some vector art, such as this, all these elements here, okay, that's a path in itself. It's been grouped. You can see that we've got all the little points, and we can do all the kind of what do we call it, where you take the vertex and you stretch out and you create curves. I forget the name of it right now, but you know what I'm talking about. So all that stuff in there, it's actually able to come in, and I'll start a new composition here. So this is the Illustrator file inside here. If I try to move this around, it moves around altogether. I can't actually go in and select those points that I was talking about. But if I actually right-click on this layer and then create shapes from the vector layer, it's gone and removed the eye from there, so it's hidden the actual original AI file, and now we have this new file, shape-based file, that sits on top. What's cool about this one is that I can go in and start to select inside its contents. Each element has its own group. So now I can go right on in and actually select those points, and I've got absolute control over them, which is brand new, and it's seriously cool. That is so cool, and no one cares, but that's all good. So what I'm going to do now is turn this flattened image, and we used to be able to talk about 2.5D, which is kind of 2D flat things, postcards that move in 3D space. We don't have that limitation anymore. If I make sure that my settings for this composition, where are they, composition settings, are set in advance to this ray trace 3D instead of the classic, then I get the ability to extrude text and shape layers. And all I need to do is switch on this little guy here, where are you, buddy? And tick this little box, and this now becomes a 3D layer. So what we'll do is that. So now, not only can I move this in 3D space, which I used to be able to do before, I can actually go into geometry and extrude this. So I'm extruding it here. You can't really see what's going on, so what I'm going to do is get my camera and just move this around. Ding ding. Why am I dinging? This is fantastic. Oh, great! Let's create a camera. Okay, that's better. So now I've got this camera. You can see the box has got this edge to it. Now notice how that was pretty chuggy, like as far as the way it reacted to moving around. We've now got this fast draft and draft modes that allow us to move really, really quickly. Big improvement as far as being productive goes. So this is really, really responsive. So you can see how I've got that extrusion. Now in order to get the lighting nice, I have to go and create a light. And a point light's fine. And now we start to see some shadows. You can start adding more lights, get some 3-point lighting, things like that, and you can get stuff that looks kind of like that, which is pretty damn cool. Now the text, this is really cool. I'm going to add some text in here now. New text, pretty straightforward, and let's just throw some awesome text in there. This text is not 3D yet, make it 3D, because I've got the particular ray trace engine working. when I flick down here, I can see the geometry, and this will still be inside that 3D space, and I can extrude that guy too. And then this will all move inside proper 3D space. Not bad. Okay, pretty cool. Hot wheels. Hot stuff. Alright, cool. So I'm going to move on. This is After Effects. There's some other things in After Effects that make it really, really cool, but because it's video, I'm going to go into Premiere because this is where we do the video editing, and I love this program. This has been my bread and butter for 10 years, and it's just getting better and better. Now, you saw me running around with one of these. Who owns a DSLR? Nobody. Okay, most of you do. Good. Who has one that shoots video as well? Pretty much the same hands. Great. Well, that video that comes off these cameras, you can bring it in here and start cutting it straight away. You don't need to turn it into anywhere else. It just comes in and starts working, which is great. There's also these little guys. I don't know who's seen these little cameras before. They're called a GoPro. Has anyone heard of the GoPro? Show of hands? Yeah, a little bit? Okay. These are used in extreme sport events. I, a couple of weeks ago, went up, I should say, to Cairns and went bungee jumping and took this with me. So that was good fun. And when I went, this guy saw that I had the camera and attached it to my arm, and he wanted to borrow the attachment because he had his own camera, just didn't have the attachment. I said, sure, that's fine, so long as I can get your footage. He said, yeah, that's cool. So this is him jumping, first bungee jump ever. It's great fun. So I'm going to make this full screen so we get the full effect. I'm just going to make sure that we can hear. Yeah, good. All right, okay, because you need to hear this guy. All right, ready, set. Oh, Scott, what a champion. That was, Scott's my new hero. Alright, just to prove that I did jump, this is me jumping. Backwards. I expected to get wet, but I didn't. Alright, I did it 3 times. It was great fun. Highly recommend it if you haven't done it before. Alright, so in this program also we have some Adobe magic called Warp Stabilize. So I'm going to show you some footage here that I shot with my, not this camera, there's some other stuff I did do with this that I'll show you in a second. This was on a normal camera, like a big kind of broadcast camera, heavy camera. And the footage was not that bad, I thought, as far as being moving and having it sort of smooth, but you'll see the original, then you'll see the plug-in doing its thing, and you'll see a little bit of a difference. You might see a lot of a difference. Okay, this is the original footage, then it'll show in full screen the warp stabilize effect applied, and then it will do a side-by-side so you can compare the two. So I use my skateboard as my dolly, because that's how I roll. Alright, so I thought this wasn't too bad. And it's not that bad, but when I see it like that, ooh. Yeah, that effect, usually when you pay lots of money for technology to do that correctly in camera, it's called Steadicam. That's expensive and it's a lot of mucking around, and now you don't need to worry about that. You can just go out with a skateboard and you can call yourself a production company. So here's another one, and I did shoot this on my DSLR. How are we going for time? We're good?
You're good. Yep.
Cool. Okay. This is in back of Smash. Nice back of Smash. Again, original footage. I'm driving in the car. I showed this first in the States. I was in Vegas not long ago and did a demo there. They freaked out because I was driving on the wrong side of the road. I had to explain that that's how we do it back home. So I'm actually turning a corner, driving by myself. Don't tell the cops. And holding the camera, holding the steering wheel, and kind of balancing the camera on my hand. So you'll see the footage, then you'll see the fixed footage, and side by side again. That's not too bad, right? Ooh. Very nice. Wow. That is a big difference. A shot that normally, thank you, that shot you would never use if you were going to be producing something of any decent quality, but it turned it into something that was absolutely 100% usable. One more, again, same concept. This time the footage is someone standing there, so it's not moving, and as this car went down this lip, it made a lot of shutter, and the camera moved quite a bit. So again, just to show you, you don't have to actually have the camera moving in order to clean up your material. The same magic, does it the same way, and it cleans it up just as nice. Not too bad. Oh, this guy again! Whew. Last thing I'll show, another bit of magic, and this is an idea that's borrowed from, this will be the last thing that I do. This is borrowed from After Effects, adjustment layers. Basically, if you have content that lives underneath an adjustment layer, and you add effects to that adjustment layer, everything underneath it takes on the effects that you put on the adjustment layer. It's kind of like a global effect. As you can see here, I'll just bring this to full screen, we've got 4 different camera angles, and they're meant to be picture in picture. They all edit and change shot at different points in time. If you want to go in normally, before this version, you'd have to go in and do a colour correction on one, copy, paste that across the rest. If you want to make a change, you've got to select them all, remove those attributes, and start the process again. This makes that process so much simpler that at the event I was in at Vegas, this was the feature that switched a guy that used the product that is our main competitor, and at the end he just put his hand up and said, alright, high five, that's just too cool. Because he understood that that process is so much more simplified. So I'm going to play this back, and I've got this fast colour corrector effect on there, and I'm just going to start changing the colour while I'm playing it back, and it's affecting every single bit of content that's underneath it, all while playing back. Pretty darn cool. Oh, cameraman. I would have panicked if I was that guy. So that is some pretty powerful stuff, some Adobe magic. So I'm going to pass it on to our last guy, Earl, the GPS.
John, that is just amazing stuff. Premiere Pro, Production Premium. Any video or video-related questions?
Yep.
Yeah, we've got
the digital Steadicam. Does it borrow wraparound, or does it enlarge the whole image and sacrifice?
Yeah, there has to be some sort of cropping to sacrifice in order to go in there. There is a feature, if there's not too much cropping happening, you can actually there's a feature in it where it allows you to kind of simulate the edges, so you don't have to crop so much. But essentially, yes, it's doing it.
Enlarges and sacrifices.
Sorry. Yeah, you do, but as you saw, it doesn't actually do that much of a crop. Depending how aggressive the movement is, even then, that material that I showed, it still looks great. And I did put a bit of a sharpen on that footage that's from Bacchus Marsh, because it did soften, but the sharpen tool does a great job there. One more question while Earl's setting up? No?
Oh, no, sorry, one question.
Yes.
Is Premiere ship with the full CS6 set, or is it a separate?
with Master Collection and Production Premium.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is a product within itself as well, but yeah, certainly. Production Premium is the video one, and then Master Collection, you get the whole suite, you get everything. So yes, it's included in that suite.
Oh, John, just marvellous. Well, our next presenter, I'd like to present Earl. Earl's come all the way from Auckland in New Zealand. Very new member of I think the newest member of our team.
The baby of the team,
yeah. Baby of the team. So, Earl, you're going to share with us a bit of InDesign.
InDesign magic.
Yeah.
We've had plenty of other magic, but
yeah. I think
yeah,
plenty of time. Take your time, and we can have some question and answers after Earl's done. So,
right.
All good.
Okay.
Yeah.
InDesign users in the room. Awesome, you guys are going to know exactly what I'm talking about here. look, my background, I've sat with hovering art directors behind me trying to do this stuff, and I can tell you now, you're going to go back to work tomorrow and you're going to sit in front of InDesign and you're going to go, gee, I wish I had what he showed me last night. Alright? I think this is the coolest thing in the whole suite. I think there's some great magic in Illustrator. You know, that bike with the gradients, Illustrator people are special, right? But they are special. I mean, that bike is what, 3 megs? It's a tiny file.
Under that, 2.8, yeah.
2.8 megs for that file. But, you know, and Photoshop's got some great stuff in it, but we all know this is where it all happens, right? It's all about InDesign. It's all about InDesign. Now, number one request from CS5 to CS6. Every InDesign user pretty much was bashing Adobe going, holy cow, since this iPad thing turned up 2 years ago, my life has just been terrible. I've got to now create a file for an iPad, I've got to create a file for print, I've got to create a file format that's horizontal, that's vertical. All of a sudden, everyone's chewing up their time, making up and repurposing ends. But this is what we do for a living, right? Every time we turn up, they're going, great, that looks awesome, but I need to resize it, you need to change the format, and off we go. So, this is the one thing that they really wanted to kick into CS6, and I think they've done an amazing job. So, I'll show you a little bit of the magic first, and then we'll have a look at how they did it. Ooh, hello. There we go. This is new. Creating alternate layouts. I'm going to show you this first, and then we'll have a little talk about it, because this is the real magic, okay? Photoshop's cool, but this is the real magic. In here, now you have an option to take what we've got and try to repurpose it for another format. Now this could be a preset, this could be a different size preset. Whatever you guys want to put in here, you can actually target, you can customize the size that you want. Alright? We've already jumped in here and we've got a couple of options here. I'm going to take you through creating, very quickly, a horizontal version of this page, of this layout, and let's make a horizontal one. Alright, so we've got horizontal there, same size. In here, preserve existing, we're going to link stories, and we've got a little bit of other stuff going on here, right? Now this is what happens when you click this now. Same document, you now get this kind of magic. It's done a very good job of preserving the layout as you intended it. Now it's not perfect, because we still need people sitting in front of computers, right? We don't want to do away with people. But you know, it's a pretty good starting point. Otherwise you're back to copy everything, new document, paste it in, resize every element. Anybody here think this just might save them some time tomorrow if they had it? If they had it tomorrow. Yeah?
Yes.
And again, we can keep on creating alternate layouts in here. Let's go for an Android, because everyone wants an Android, right? Richard? Right, Richard?
Yes.
Cool. And again, we scroll across here. Let's now try to repurpose a lot of this stuff. Straight away, one file, 3 layouts, 3 different sizes. Not bad. Now, we come in here. Like I said, it's not perfect. It hasn't done everything for us. But straight away, you know, it's done a lot of the what we call heavy lifting. It's done a lot of the work. And if you have a look between this page here, 2 columns, it's decided maybe on here we'll go to 3 columns. So it's doing a lot of smart things in here very, very quickly. And again, if you've got to do this stuff all day, every day, I'm pretty sure I'd rather do it in CS6 than in CS5. Yeah? Because this is where the stuff happens. This is where the real money's made, right? Now, everyone knows that when you've gone and made, you've got to resize your layout, and you've got three different versions as we have in here. First thing you're going to do is you're going to go out there, create three separate documents. Art director comes in, hovering over your shoulder and goes, "You spelt that wrong. That's completely wrong." Right? Let's have a look. Look at that. That really should be dream. And that should be entertain. Of course the art director will want that. That makes way more sense, right? Now, one document, separate layouts, linked text. Yeah? So we all see this, right? Your text changes now flow from your master file through to your other layouts within the same document. You're not managing separate documents everywhere, trying to keep everything in place. With this, we can manage it all. Alright? Now the magic. This is where we go in here. We don't need these right now, so we get rid of these. Sure. Let's come back into our document. I'll take you through what the liquid layout. This is how the magic's created. In here, liquid layout was really the tools to create those alternate layouts. We can actually take objects, apply different sets of rules to different elements on the page. So you can pin an item, top right, which is what we have here. So if you have a look at this, it's saying pin it to the top and pin it to the right. So that when you do things like this, it's going to move it. And again. I know you have commitment issues, Mike, but this is fine. Right? This is just a file. Alright, so again, I know you InDesign guys are smart, and this is going to work really well. Again, you can choose down here. If you have a look in this one, that item's pinned at the bottom left. And again, this is what's creating the magic when you go to create those alternate layouts. It's going to take into account what you've laid out in here with the liquid layout tools, pin bottom left, pin top right, resize on the fly, all of these options here. And again, for me, I don't know, I wish I was a McHugh now, sitting in front of this stuff, because boy, the number of hours, I think I had one of the DPS is really hot for us in Adobe everywhere. I had a guy who had designed a 280-page document, which he had to take through vertical. They wanted it into a DPS, he had to create a horizontal version of this. He then had a print version that he had to do, and he had 4 versions of it. When I showed him this in a group, the guy audibly cried. There was a loud gasp from the back of the room, and a lot of horrible words, and he could not believe that we could come up here and go, well, gee, you could just put this and you could do this. He absolutely died. And I reckon out of all of the tools that you've seen tonight, I know this one here is what's going to save a heap of time. And again, some very smart technology going on here. We have a look through. That one's an object-based one, top right. Let's have a look at the pick in here. So that's trying to pull that image through. And again, with a little bit of time spent on this one here, getting that layout and the rules applied correctly, you're going to save yourself a ton of time. That's crazy. That's magic, I reckon. Cool.
All done?
Forms? I'll do form very quickly.
I think we've got time for just one last quick...
Anyone here love making Acrobat forms? Interactive forms, InDesign, into Acrobat, lay it all out again. Somebody goes, no, you spelled that wrong, I don't like it over there, go move it, back into Acrobat, move it everywhere. Okay, cool. So we made forms really easy because you can do it all in InDesign now. Now this.
When you're done,
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
show it if you want.
Okay, cool. Why don't you?
You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
So this whole form here, I've got the PDF open. All done out of InDesign. Alright. Here's the crazy stuff. Yeah, fine. We can type in there. That's cool. It shows all of these options here. You caught me playing around with it. All these drop-down boxes, everything is in InDesign. This hasn't gone to Acrobat and been magically touched up. We're doing this in InDesign now. The tools that you guys are familiar with, the tools that you know how to use, are now going to generate some great things here. When you click through here, it's now going to hide certain parts of the document, depending on what you want to see. And again, this is all happening inside InDesign. You're not having to, your familiar design tools are all there, and you can make some amazing results in here now. All right. So, really exciting time to be designing forms. All right. Compared to how we gave it to you last time, I know, but this one's cool. So, hopefully, that's just a very small taste of what CS6 is going to do for everyone. We've got some great stuff in Photoshop, but obviously some great stuff in Illustrator, InDesign, and the rest of the tools. We've had a massive year with videos, so hope you guys enjoyed it. Mike?
Well, thank you, Earl. I just thought Earl's been working really hard today, and he emailed me one of his forms to test. Didn't you, Earl? I've got it on the iPad here, so I thought I'd show you. Is that all right? Yeah. All right. Yeah,
You want to chuck it up on me?
I like it, yeah. I've got the... should we chuck it up on the Dr. Cam?
Hang on, this is all very technical. There we go.
Oh, rock on. Yeah, there you go. So look, we've got this this little form there, and what I'm actually using here, and if anyone's got an iPad, tablet or whatever, you can download the free Adobe Reader, just like a desktop Adobe Reader, Acrobat Reader is what we used to call it. There's a couple of pages here. There are some new tools in there. So there's some annotation tools built in there in the free reader, so you can actually send documents out for collaboration using the free reader and then collate it all back on the desktop if you're an Acrobat Pro user. But this form was created just the way that Earl was talking about there, using Indesign CS6, saved as an interactive PDF. And now this is like a talent release form, so that I've been taking photos of all of you throughout the whole presentation, so you could all come up here and say that Mike's allowed to use those photos. That would be really great. And then you can fill out your name, organisation, date, and there's a signature field down the bottom here. Okay? There's a signature field down the bottom here. Okay? And luckily enough, right at the top, there is a signature button in the free reader, so I can just go, yeah, I want to put a signature on here. Gives me a big sign here thing, so I can do my signature. This is how I sign all my checks. Boom. Okay. And then all I have to do is then to submit that back. Boom. I can print it. Email straight back. Saves all the data in there. Off it goes. So
Straight out
it's super exciting.
We've chucked a whole lot of buttons in there to make it nice and easy to get started. So,
Yep. Also, just while we're at it, Earl and John were talking about the digital publishing solution as well that we've got, and all of the panels that we have in there, which enable you to publish directly to all different tablet devices as well now as iPhones. So if you're a publisher of any description, whether it be print or whatever, you should definitely talk to one of us or the lovely Fiona about Adobe's digital publishing suite, and then you can also create wonderful applications, and there's a ton of great example applications out there. For if you're a surfer, there's the Wetsuit Board Bible, which is created by Morrison Media in Burleigh Heads. I'm angling for a job there. That's my next job. Definitely be up there. And another great free example is available in the newsstand, which is the Motoring magazine, and that's done locally in Victoria. This has got some terrific examples of how to put together a document. It's got video controls in there, sort of little extra rollover bits and all sorts of fun sort of stuff that you can explore in there. All created directly out of InDesign and then published a bespoke application to the iTunes store. Could also